H-O-N-O-R, H-O-N-O-R, and Honor was his name.
Hi, my name is Ona Brown.
And I'm John Leslie Brown.
And this is my younger brother, and we are part of the First Family of Motivation. We are here in downtown Los Angeles. We are in the process of having an amazing celebration of life, and we have dream owners that are arriving as we speak. And I just thought it would be great if we could just come out and talk about the value of a vision. You know, we had a vision for having this come together and creating this moment, and that's all really life is about, is different special moments that follow one after the other. And if you're not setting a clear intention of what you want and then actually following through on that intention and that vision, then it's not going to happen for you. So I don't know what it is that you might want. It may be a celebration for your birthday in a nice, beautiful place that shows you the downtown skyline, or it might be traveling the world. It might be finding your unique power voice. It might be helping elders or finding a way to uplift our youth. Whatever it is that's calling you in the middle of the night, it's up to you to not just have that vision, but to make that vision plain, write it down, and then follow through.
Yes, make it tangible, bring it to life. And Ona has a quote that I love. She said, "You don't get the life you deserve, you get the life that you design." So design a life with a skyscraper view. Design a life with OQP, only
quality people.
Design a life where you get to enjoy your purpose, but also to embrace your passion.
Okay, I didn't know where that was going.
Purpose and passion. You should have had
I just love my brother. He has a quote that I love, and that is, and you did this when you were like 14, most people are more dedicated to their distractions than they are their destiny. So whatever you want in life, make sure you're not being distracted. Make sure you stay on point, and make sure you give 150%, because this is it, baby. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is all you have. And we just want to tell you, we love you, we believe in you. Whatever you want, make it happen. Own your dream.
Own your dream. 1, 2, 3. Own your dream. Got it. Cool. I'm calling it a tribute. Let me tell you. We just lost a powerful voice of hope, and she was also a poet.
Yes. Right.
Raise your hand if Miss Maya Angelou. And what she taught me was the power of poetry. Yes. That you can be universal, and you can have a gift. So we have a poet who's going to share something. I want us to give him his attention, to give him our attention, focus, and community. But before we do that, I have to have my father, a great man who I have imagine being at home on YouTube and seeing a YouTube video with your dad and Miss Rosa Parks. These type of things don't faze him. But I'm at home and I'm watching it with popcorn. And Miss Rosa Parks is saying, "Man, Les Brown, if I had seminars and workshops like this when I was a kid, imagine where we'd be today." Yes. And I'm so great. My sister is a powerhouse.
Yes,
She's a powerhouse. I mean, she's the type of person you don't call her when you're off your game, because she will hold you accountable.
Oh, I love it.
But my dad has done some incredible things, but he got a chance to go and visit Miss Maya Angelou at her home. And if you could tell a story about that experience before the poet and introduce our poet as well, that would be so great.
He is also June 6th and a dear friend of mine for years. Okay, so you're going to tell the Maya Angelou story, and we're going to go to
a young man named David, who's out here, wanted to meet Maya Angelou, and he said, I want to meet Maya Angelou. I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, I want to use your name to get to her. So I said, well, she's heard of me, I'm sure, but she's not going to meet with us. And he called her and as my assistant, and she said, I would love to meet with Les Brown. And he called me, and this little young guy, he was just relentless, about 17 years old. And so we went to meet with her, and we spent the whole day with her. What really fascinated me about her is that she has a photographic memory. And so, like, in most of my quotes, and so I would start telling her something. I said, I remember a poem, Many a Flower, and then she said, it bloomed unceasingly and wasted sweetness upon the cold desert air. She said, that's the soliloquy of a young man who was in a graveyard, and at that time he spoke those words. And I mean, that's a very obscure quote. I was fascinated. And so then she told me about when she met Langston Hughes, and she said what she described the color of his socks when she met Malcolm X, and W.B. Du Bois's wife didn't like Malcolm X. She thought he was too militant. So when she went to South Africa, Malcolm X came. And so W.B. Du Bois's wife was there, and she said, let me see you, young man. Come in this room, I want to talk to you. And as she was describing this to me, she was very dramatic. And he went in the room, and she said, when she came out, she said, this is a fine young man. He's a man that needs to be listened to. And when she was 7, as you know, a man raped her. And so when she told, her relatives got together, some of the friends of the family, and they beat the man to death. And she went into a catatonic state. And she said her grandmother got this lady to work with her, to home teach her. And she said, and she took me downstairs in the basement. She said, she showed her all of these books, over 3,000 books. She said, we're going to start on this end, and I want you to start reading. Now, she spoke over 8 different languages. And so she had to read the book and write this lady a report. And then finally, she wrote this report that she was very proud of. And the lady came downstairs, and she said, try to show it to her. She said, I'm not going to look at that. She said, you can talk. And she kept trying to give it to her. And her grandmother came downstairs. And this lady said, you can talk, and you're going to talk now. And she looked at her grandmother, and her grandmother never let anyone talk to her like that and didn't come to her defense. And she was shocked. And she just tried. She was so proud. Please. And she said, no, read it. And she began to speak. And one of the fascinating things about her is that she had this fascination with words, and she lived an extraordinary life, but there was a grace about her and being in her presence. She had such range of knowledge from reading all of those books. She retained that and really increased my passion for learning. And she had this drive. She spent time with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., with one of your relatives, Percy Sutton out of New York, who was Malcolm X's attorney. And she was among those people who were aware that Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King was in Percy Sutton's office for 2 weeks arguing their philosophical difference, and they emerged as friends. But she was one of the people considered to replace Dr. Howard Thurman in San Francisco at the church where he pastored. Those of you that don't know him, he was a very brilliant man who mentored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you go online and put in Dr. Howard Thurman, you will hear him speaking. You'll hear the cadence of Dr. King. He wrote, "Deep is the hunger, the voice of the genuine." If there are two primary questions that one must ask oneself in life, number one, where am I going? And number two, who's going with me? And if you ever ask those questions in the wrong order, you'll be in serious trouble.
Come on.
Do you have my echo over here? Stereo. High five. That's high five. Yeah.
Give them the strings, Daddy. The strings. Tell them the Howard Thurman quote. The strings.
He said, "There's something in each and every one of you that waits and listens to the voice of the genuine in yourself. It will be perhaps the only guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, all of your life, your days will be spent on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls." That's a bad boy. Let me tell you. So she admired his work, and they were very, very close friends. And so we most certainly, in her transition, her work will live on. But she was an incredible lady with elegance and grace. That eloquence and grace and elegant. Yes, and so we most certainly will miss her, but her presence will always be with us.
We are very corny like this. This is how we like to spend our birthdays. And so Ona had a dream one time of meeting someone, a great world leader that we just lost. And I want her to tell the story of how she was able to do this. Could you please tell us what your dream was? You know the story that I'm referring to, and leading up to that, please.
Are you talking about the Honorable Nelson?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you a trip. Okay. So I had a vision. One of my friends was telling me that a delegation of ministers was leaving from Chicago and going to South Africa. And I said, I want to go. You ever heard someone say something and then your spirit leaped and you said, that's me, I want to do that? So my spirit leaped and I said, I want to be able to go with you. And he said, well, we're going to be leaving in a couple of weeks, so you just need to make sure that you're prepared because we're staying at a 5-star hotel. And of course, you'll need your round trip ticket and all of these things. So I began to do what I needed to do to begin to prepare. Repeat after me. The highest form of faith.
The highest form of faith
is preparation.
It's preparation.
So I started preparing to do what I needed to do to be able to go on this trip to South Africa and Cape Town, South Africa. And as I was preparing, I was making sure that I had all of the things that I needed. But unfortunately, as an entrepreneur, any entrepreneurs in the room? Okay, so entrepreneurs, you know what I'm talking about when I say that it's like as soon as I made a little money, it seemed like the money went out the door. So I would make 2 steps forward and then it was like 4 steps back and then 3 steps forward and then like 6 steps back. So I got to the point where I needed to make a decision because I knew I needed to be able to go. And this was something that my spirit leaped about. And I did not have the funds as of yet, so I did the unthinkable thing. I called Mr. Les Brown. Anybody who knows anything about calling Les Brown for money, especially if you're one of his children, the first thing that he's going to do is tell you that you have a poverty consciousness and that you need to raise your consciousness in order to know that it's possible because we live in an abundant universe. So I went ahead and made the call to him and it kept going to voicemail. So I decided I was going to fill up all of his voicemails with a message from me. And so he had about 30 messages from me and he called me and he said, what is so important? I can't get a message from anyone else but you, so why are you calling me like this? And I said, I've got an opportunity for you to be a part of something that will not just change my life, but the lives of those that are yet unborn. And this is going to be an amazing opportunity, and I'm willing to let you in on it if you're willing to participate by bringing the finances, the capital that is required. And he said, what are you talking about? So I explained to him I was working to go with this delegation, and this was how much money I need. It was thousands of dollars. And he said, Ona, I believe in you. You can do it. Make it happen. Click. And he hung up the phone. And so then I heard the negative inner conversations. The negative inner conversations which said, you got too big for your britches. What made you think you could go? You're obviously not prepared. You're not at the level of these other people. And so I started to think, started to shrink in my own negative thinking. Anybody ever started to shrink with your own negative inner conversation? And so all of a sudden I remember something I used to teach in my workshops, and that is feed your faith. Let me hear you say feed your faith.
Feed your faith.
And your fears will starve to death.
And your fears will starve to death.
So I went ahead and ordered the passport. I bought me some dashikis because I thought when I got to South Africa they would be wearing dashikis, but they weren't. And so I did all these things to prepare, because the highest form of faith is preparation. And then all of a sudden, the woman called me. I called and found out who the delegation was going with, the travel agent. And I talked to her, and she said there was one seat left on the flight. Wow. And I said, that seat is my seat. And so she took my reservation. And then we got ready to get off the phone. I thought she was asking me, is that going to be American Express, MasterCard, or Visa? And I said, can I call you back with that? And she said, sure. So I got off the phone. I was so excited because I couldn't believe she took my reservation without any capital. And so I kept praying and believing and fasting and just holding the vision, and had my globe, and I would point at Cape Town, South Africa. And then finally, all of a sudden, one of my friends called and said, listen, the president of the delegation said that we had more money in our actual budget than we needed, and so he decided to pay for you in full. Yes. So I ended up going to Cape Town, South Africa, and while we were there, I started asking people, because I couldn't believe I made it to Cape Town, South Africa. If I've done this, what else can I do? So I started asking everyone and their mother, do you know the Honorable Nelson Mandela? Do you know how I can meet him? And they're like, you can't meet him. And I said, oh, you don't know how I got here. Oh, I don't need to talk to you. Your faith is too small. Okay? So I kept asking, and then finally I found out that he was doing a presentation before, I think, about 30,000 people in this huge dome while I was there. And we were there for the Parliament of the World Religions, where people come from all different types of religions, and they put the barriers down to focus on world hunger and AIDS and poverty, different things like that. And so we got to the actual place where they were getting ready to go in for this actual event with the Honorable Nelson Mandela. Didn't have a ticket, but we were just standing there. So my friend said, why are we standing here? This doesn't make sense. We don't even have a ticket. I said, just hold the vision and be quiet. Just hold the vision and be quiet. So we're holding the vision. All of a sudden I hear this minister, and he says, hey, Ona, is that you? And I turn around, and it's what's his name? Michael Beckwith. Can you believe that? He said, I can't believe that's you. What are you doing here in South Africa? I was like, I'm just holding the vision. What are you doing here? He said, well, my wife and I, we just came in from Brazil. We're exhausted, and I've got to get on stage to present this award to the Honorable Nelson Mandela. Can you help us get down front, because we just are delirious. Oh, wow. I said, give me your bags. I became the instant armor bearer. I was like, excuse us. So I'm pushing people out of the way. I seated his wife on the front row. I seated next to her. He goes backstage. Wow. While he's backstage, he sends some people to come and get me. The woman comes out. She says, are you Ona Brown? I said, yes, I'm Ona Brown. She said, we're going to take you backstage. We get backstage. She said, there's only about 12 people there. And the Honorable Nelson Mandela has been traveling the entire continent. He's exhausted, so no pictures. But you will get an opportunity to at least say hello to him. So we go backstage. I'm shaking, I'm crying, I'm delirious, and he's addressing the people. And as he gets finished, he begins to come down these steps, and I'm standing by the steps to see him. I want to be the first person to see him. And as he comes down the steps, I said, Nelson, I love you. And then I realized that was inappropriate because he's a married man. But anyway, he came up and he was so polite and so classy and so just warm and loving, and he just greeted me. And I said, it's such an honor to meet you. And I'm just, so I was just beyond myself. And he said, thank you. It's nice to meet you too. And he gave me a hug. And then as he was getting ready to go, I thought about, you know what, when you have a great dessert, you got to remember to put the cherry on top, right? So the cherry on top was for me to get to the hotel room and call Mr. Les Brown. So I got to the hotel, I called Dad. He never answers his phone, but my very nature demanded that he answer his phone. And he said, hello, Ona, aren't you in South Africa? I said, yeah. I said, I just wanted to let you know something. He said, what? I said, I just met the Honorable Nelson Mandela. He said, did you say anything about me? I said, no, for some reason you skipped my mind. So we shared that story to let you know that whatever your dream is, whatever you're thinking about, it's never too big for God. And we know that everything that seems impossible is definitely possible if you're willing to take the steps, if you're willing to move from a place of faith instead of your fears, and if you're willing to get out of your own way.
Wow. What a story. That was a great story. Thank you. So boy tour say, Ona, thank you for owning your dream.
Well, let me say it's time to go. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night, Miss Calabish, wherever you are. We had a wonderful time celebrating your life.
Because a lot of people that are not that old don't know.
Jimmy Durante.
I understood you.
You understood me? Okay. We had a great time, and we just enjoyed being here celebrating Ona's life on the planet, and she has 55 years behind her and all of that before her.
They're going to think she's really 55.
I'm so glad we had this time together. Just to have a laugh or sing a song. Since we just get started, and before you know it, comes a time we have to say so long. This has been amazing. This is a dream come true. Wonderful birthday. Great people. All the people that were here were good, kind, loving, and they also were dream owners. So we had an amazing time. If you weren't here, too bad. Next time you better make sure you make it. And thank you for being who you are, and continue to own your dreams as you make this thing called life happen each and every day. We believe in you. We love you. This is the First Family of Motivation. John Leslie Brown, High Hopes, Ona Brown, and none other than Mamie Brown's baby boy.
And Patrick, the ice cream man.
And Leslie Calvin Brown.
On 3, own your dream. 1, 2, 3. Own your dreams.